Islamic Republic. With the current situation going on in Iran, due to the aftermath of the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei stating that the elections were not rigged, the American media and the people of America wonder, how did this government come to power? This story stretches back 30 years ago, during a time period where the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, was the ruler, and like what is going on today, back then elections were rigged, and done so to keep the people happy and satisfied. However, on the flip side, he had secret police that arrested those speaking out against him. My mother was one of those, but thankfully was released. Propaganda was spread to keep the people happy, but it was behind the scenes that drew attention. America and England basically raped Iran's oil, and the people who took notice of that realized that the Shah was actually not as strong as many thought he would be. In fact, he was more of a puppet to America, or a political pawn in a big chessboard. The economy played a role in this revolution as well. An overly ambitious economic program that brought economic bottlenecks, shortages, and inflation. The economy was shot. Protesters rallied, and the Shah ultimately was too weak to take stand against any of the opposition. In Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's memoirs of the 1979 revolution, he stated, quote, "Every time we took one step forward, the Shah would take one step back. Any man who allows the opposition to have it their way is considered weak." End quote. The Ayatollah Khomeini placed such an impact in the Iranian people that they began buying into his propaganda. In fact, people would call up home saying, "Khomeini can be seen in the moon," in which people who had telescopes would actually see if this were true, and some actually made the case that they could see him. People felt it was destiny. Well, it was. After the Shah fled the country, the Ayatollah Khomeini took over and implemented a new regime called the Islamic Republic. A new ideology where Islam would be the front, and there would be no more Iran being used by America, at least in the government's ideology. A constitution was formed, a constitution in which was completely disregarded years later. How do I know this? Well, let's analyze a few points of the Constitution for a second. In Article 3, the creation of a favorable environment for the growth of moral virtues based on faith and pity, and the struggle against all forms of vice and corruption. Now, corruption can be clearly seen. In Iran, many journalists have been murdered, beaten, and imprisoned because they have spoken out against the government. Now, is it moral to imprison those who have an opposite opinion of the government? In Article 3, Section 2, quote, "Raising the level of public awareness in all areas through the proper use of the press, mass media, and other means," end quote. The Islamic Republic has shut down numerous media outlets in Iran that has spoken out against the regime in an attempt to stop spreading the message. They are preventing the public from thinking outside the box. The less people who think outside the box, the further their regime stands. In Section 5, quote, "The complete elimination of imperialism and the prevention of foreign influence," end quote. Although Iran does not say dictatorship, they treat the people like a dictatorship. This is seen when they censor what the people can say, and when they undermine the equality between man and woman. In Section 9, quote, "The abolition of all forms of undesirable discrimination and the provision of equitable opportunities for all," end quote. Discrimination is clearly seen in Iran with homosexuals, as the regime has time and time executed young Iranian citizens because of their sexual preference. In Section 8, quote, "The participation of the entire people in determining their political, economic, social, and cultural destiny." The participation of the Iranian people is one thing, but what about actually counting the votes? whatever happened to the country deciding who they want to partake in the government? Was this disregarded? Section 14. Securing the multifarious rights of all citizens, both men and women. Is the rights of Iranians secured? When the besieged can randomly shoot people violently down when protesting, even though the 27th Amendment clearly shows them? Is the rights of Iranians secured? When random militiamen can kick in the door of your home and come in, slap your mother, and throw you out of your home, as we've seen today? Islam has historically been the religion of peace, yet I'm still trying to understand how there is still secret police and militiamen and besieged thugs roaming the country. Isn't this contradiction to what the Islamic Republic believes? Iran is ruled by people who state people should live clean and simple lives, yet it's the mullahs who I see with all the money and big homes. It's their children I see driving the BMWs and Mercedes, not the ordinary people. It's the mullahs and the ahuns with all the power, and the ordinary people appear to be, according to the Islamic Republic, not loyal enough towards the Islamic Revolution. Hypocrites at its finest. Welcome to Islamic Republic. Revolution is the only solution. This audio is dedicated to the 16-year-old named Neda in Tehran who was violently shot down in the chest by a besieged, where she died in her father's arms. May she rest in peace.